Welcome to Succession Podcast, a podcast by Lane Brothers Investment Counsel. Follow a founder on his journey to successfully transition his 3-decade-old practice to the next generation of advisors and clients. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Carson Partners, a division of CWM LLC, is a nationwide partnership of advisors.
Welcome to another episode of the Succession Podcast. My name is Joe Allen, Wealth Advisor, and I'm joined by
Megan Lane, Associate Wealth Advisor and Director of Operations.
Kevin Lane, Founder, Senior Wealth Advisor.
On today's episode, we want to talk a little bit about what our clients will experience in the coming years as part of this succession. Up to this point, we've covered a lot of content on the areas of services that we provide, but we want to focus on what it'll feel like as a client going through this succession in the coming years. So, Kevin, why don't we start with, we've already now been introducing the succession team and client meetings. So talk a little bit about that.
Great. So we thought it was important to try to get out of the box fast on this. So when we announced the first release of the Succession video podcast this summer, we also then started to have live client meetings in which the Succession team, notably myself, Megan Lane, and Joe Allen, were in the same meeting, whether these were face-to-face in our library or conference room, or client's place of business or home, or on Zoom calls if they're remotely in another state. And I got to say, this has been very well received. I think people appreciate the transparency, the point that we're actually addressing it. You know, the SEC requires RIA firms to have a succession plan. They want that documented and they want that communicated out to clients. And so I think that's just good business form, and it's being respectful of the clients and the money that is in our care on their behalf. So can't be more happy with these meetings as they've gone on over the summer. There's been a lot of openness and receptiveness to meeting Joe for the first time, having an additional follow-through with Megan, and knowing that I'm still engaged for the next 4 years at least. And we're very encouraged by it. So we look forward to the meetings to follow after this, and we're well on our way to our game plan and our timeline on this.
Absolutely. I agree. I think, you know, what you're describing and what we're trying to accomplish, as we've talked about in the previous episodes of this podcast, is plan A. Like, what's the enduring plan? What is the plan that we want to have happen, that we hope have happened, that we, is really the enduring and well thought out plan. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're communicating on this podcast. And we've talked before about, as you mentioned, Kevin, it's a requirement to really have a contingency plan. And let's face it, most people can barely get that done, right? Mm-hmm. Let alone have a more thoughtful plan in place. And so that's our plan A. But knowing things don't always happen as expected, Kevin, what's plan B or C or D or something other than that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, you know, our plan A, as we started with the first preview video of me announcing the Succession podcast, is that I'm engaged for the next 4 years. Joe Allen is now a shareholder of Lane Brothers after we finished our honeymoon year together, if you will. So we're happy about that. The next stage is Joe will be an officer and a board member of the firm, and he will be our Chief Information Officer. So I think this is important to have a line of responsibility and functionality as we expand our roles. And then continuing with Plan A is 2 years, which would be 2025, 2 years before I step away from day-to-day. The expectation is Joe would step up as Chief Executive Officer, CEO, and I'll remain as chairman. Megan, by this time, will have been her certified financial planner designation. She'll be a full wealth advisor, et cetera. So there is a timeline as things roll out in 2024 for all of us to step up our game, our designations, and our qualifications. And I think that just makes sense. The plan B is if God calls me home early or I get hit by a bus, Joe is the CEO and Megan is the Chief Operating Officer, and the rest of the team is well versed on that, and the clients have been informed of that as well. So hopefully we won't have Plan B, and we can focus on Plan A as a lasting, enduring game plan.
Absolutely. So important to have plan B, C, and D. Hope we don't have to invoke those.
Right.
Megan, I think so Kevin lined out kind of our plan A and some of the timelines. A really important part of executing that plan, and we've already been doing this, but it's super important that there's a lot of cross training that's going on. We mentioned, or Kevin mentioned, how introductions are being made and client meetings and things like that. But do you want to speak to a little bit of the work being done on the operations side to make sure that there's more than just Kevin as a point of contact for things on the operations side?
Yeah, absolutely. So we take cross training very seriously here. We want to make sure that multiple people know how to do things correctly and in the same manner that Kevin would handle it, the same way that I would handle it, etc. And that's not only important for contingency planning. So plan B, if something were to happen suddenly, unfortunately, we want to make sure that the firm is stable and accounts are managed how they always have been. There's no issues with that. And also just as far as like an efficiency manner, if Kevin's in New York meeting with clients all day, and doesn't have time to return a phone call, we want to make sure that clients know that there's other people that they can call if it's an urgent matter. Myself and Lydia Rodriguez, our senior relationship manager, we're both more than capable of handling many common problems, if money is needed or if there's just general account questions. And if it's something that requires your normal point of contact advisor, then we're able to find that information for them. So there's no issues with that. It's just really important that we can all work together and know that there's a plan in place if needed.
Yeah, I think a big part of that, just to expand on what you're saying, is that you have to have documented procedures, right? So procedures in place that really anybody could pick up and know what they should do. But then obviously if you spend the extra time and energy to train people, then now they not just know what the procedure says, but they know what to do, and they're confident in that ability. I think, as you said, it's really important in general for any firm, just from an efficiency and quality perspective of the work that we provide, but then just further supports a succession where you have people coming in and out of the firm. Could be a new team member that could really leverage those procedures as well. And so this applies also in other aspects of our firm from a cross training perspective. So on the financial planning side, Kevin mentioned, the last episode we talked about certified financial planners. Megan's underway with getting hers. So we have a lot of internal financial planning capabilities. As we mentioned on the last episode, the ability to reach out to other partners as needed as well. So that's on the financial planning side, whether it's helping folks, plan for retirement, kind of stress testing that, talking with folks about Social Security and timing, things like that. But also on the portfolio management. So this is something, Kevin, and you feel free to chime in on this, is I haven't met anybody that's more passionate about portfolio management than Kevin Lane. And so naturally, there's different advisors have different ways that they go through that, different levels of expertise, things like that. But this is an area as a investment management firm that's extremely important. Important not just on the how we do it, but why we do it and when we do it. So these are things that are critically important to continue to serve our clients. Kevin, you want to approach?
Yeah, I think that is important. Look, that was my background in training and my introduction to the business, and I'm passionate about it, and that's what really gets me excited about the strategy, et cetera. My eyes glaze over when you look at Social Security permutations and ways and tactics, et cetera. Thank goodness Joe and Megan and others don't mind running that kind of stuff down, because that's not where my interest is. My interest is on the portfolios, the positions, and the overall strategy tied to these longer-term economic, social, and political trends that form the foundation of our investment policy. And that's a good thing. We can't be all masters of subjects, et cetera. So it's great that we have depth of coverage. The other thing I'd like to mention is I don't see this as necessarily a static thing for the next 4 years, right? So we have a core succession team of the three of us communicating out to everyone through these vodcasts. But I would fully expect we'll probably have additional people join the firm, and we'll know what kind of slot they fill into that, whether that be an advisory role or some other enhanced role on the admin operations side, et cetera. It's all about growth, and as the assets grow, the need for growth of personnel and partners grow too. So we'll obviously keep people posted on that, but don't be surprised if there's more bodies into this process as we go through this over the next 4 years. So.
Yeah, it's all good, right? It's a good thing. It's continuing to serve our clients today, add the most value possible, and also support the future generations of our clients and employees, shareholders of the firm, right? So not a bad thing at all. So the point here is just a lot of work has already been done to establish roles and responsibilities. Again, the plan A versus the contingency plans that are also necessary, and the cross-training of members of the team across operations, financial planning, portfolio management, all aspects to make sure that we're on a sound foundation as a firm. Okay. So, Kevin, I feel like we're in a pretty good spot to wrap up.
Yeah, I think there's a good wrap up for this episode. I'd like to just end. By the time you view this episode, I will have gone through a hip replacement and hopefully back up and running 100%. In my definition, that would make me a hipster.
Okay, Boomer.
If you're a client and you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to any of our team members directly. If you're an advisor or in the industry and you'd like to have a conversation, you can reach us at info@lanebrothers.com.
Thanks again for joining us for another episode. On the next episode, we'll be talking to some other professionals in our industry who have gone through successions themselves, lessons learned they have, and things that we've incorporated into ours. So join us for that. Take care.
Thank you for listening. Find all the succession episodes on lanebrothers.com/podcast. If you found any portion of this episode helpful, please like or share it with a friend. The opinions voiced in Succession with Kevin Lane, Joe Allen, and Megan Lane are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine what may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial, or tax advisor prior to investing. Guests on Succession are not affiliated with CWM LLC investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Carson Partners, a division of CWM LLC, is a nationwide partnership of advisors.